I think the best thing about Wrexham is the countryside outside of Wrexham.
That's what Chester say.
It's got 2 train stations.
The lager's a big thing as well.
Wrexham lager? The only lager served on the Titanic? No. Apparently.
The good thing's the football club.
Yes.
We had like the takeover recently.
The Hollywood takeover.
Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney.
Now if you say Wrexham, oh, you live in Wrexham, oh.
You see so many American tourists with Wrexham hats now.
That will never get boring.
What's the worst thing about Wrexham?
Chester's only 7 miles away. There should be more.
You can't get a ticket for a match anymore.
Yeah.
It's changed everything, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been brilliant.
Just had our pride brought back, haven't we? It's cool to be from Wrexham now, you know.
We're very in vogue.
Mark Steele's in town.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much and welcome to Mark Steele's in town, which this week comes from world-famous Wrexham in North Wales. A place with a very, very unique and complicated accent. I think I've mastered it. I'm going to have a go at it now. Hell, that was a mighty fine 1-0 win against Shrewsbury. Because Wrexham's story is a heartwarming tale of an underdog town that, with no resources except the backing of Hollywood multimillionaires, overcame the might of massive cities like Halifax and Altrincham to get promoted to the Football League. As well as the Hollywood money, there's a documentary about Wrexham Football Club that's gone all round the world, so now you're globally famous, and celebrities coming here. Will Ferrell's been to the football ground, Dolly Parton will move here next, Taylor Swift will buy a holiday home in the Kea Park estate. But something I've heard from lots of people here is favour the 7 wonders of Wales are in Wrexham. Where's that come from? Is that in the Bible? You can't just make up wonders of Wales. The original wonders of the world are the pyramids and hanging gardens of Babylon. You can't just say, yeah, there's Dar, and then there's the Eagle Meadow Shopping Centre and Wrexham Butcher's Market. We're no butchers, all right? And you're a city now, Wrexham. How did you wangle that? I used to think a city meant you had a cathedral, and now that's been relaxed slightly, so that when you apply to be a city, they ask, have you got a cathedral? And you say, no, but we do have a closed-down Debenhams. And they go, oh, that'll do. Now, apparently the Queen awarded you city status just before she died. And I've got the poor old dear. She was 96. She'd just installed Liz Truss as Prime Minister. She was obviously confused. All the civil servants were going, are you sure, ma'am? Wrexham?
Yes, they've got an easy shop that sells cigarettes illegally. Make it a city. Not only that, they've got 2 Lidls.
Because you've got 2 Lidls, someone told me that they're sometimes in a Lidl here and they forget which one they're in. In other towns, if you leave Lidl and realise that you forgot to buy a rocking horse, you've got to go back. But not here. You've got the option of going forward to the second Lidl. You're so proud here. Someone told me Wrexham is a world leader in adventure playgrounds. All 3 top playgrounds in Wales are in Wrexham. Then they said the kids walk to the council tip and they bring things back for the playground. Because you're full of creativity here. You're not like these soft English adventure playgrounds where the swings are made by swing manufacturers rather than bolted together out of discarded drain pipes found on a council tip by feral kids. And there's a documentary called The Land about the adventure playground, and it's fantastic. They call it Risky Play, and their slogan is run, climb, build and burn. Burn? Send your kids to North Wales's premier arson training centre. And now other towns will try and compete, so Colwyn Bay will put a shark in the swimming pool. And Real Sun Centre had a fair go at this because they had a water park where the roof blew off, so it had to be shut down as it was too dangerous. Whereas here, you'd have just called it a risky swimming centre and charged double. And you do have tourist attractions. Someone from the tourist office said proudly, we have the only indoor multi-storey car park, art gallery with rooftop garden and performance space in North Wales. And that's why no one goes to Llandudno for a holiday anymore, because it might have a pretty Victorian bay, but it's got nowhere to park your car and then go to see a painting passing some school kids smoking grass on the way. And that place isn't just any performance space, it's a row of wooden tables and a wool shop and a... and a toilet that you can only go in if you get the key from the man at the chicken nugget stall. Otherwise the junkies go in there to jack up, so take that, Chester. You haven't got one of those, have you? And you're very, very proud of your nationality, quite rightly. So obviously you have an understandable, deep resentment against your neighbours, South Wales. But it's easy enough to get from here to South Wales. To go to Cardiff, you simply get the train to Holyhead, the ferry to Dublin, drive to Waterford, get a boat to Pembroke and walk the rest. And you'll be there in a month. And you're very, very Welsh in Wrexham because you're a whole 6 miles inside Wales. So you've got dragons over everything. Even your name is always spelt twice. In English with an X and in Welsh with a CS, because there's no X in Welsh. And I can't help thinking, maybe this is an English point of view, wouldn't it be easier just to have an X in Welsh? But no, because the English suppressed our nation for 1,000 years, and we resisted with the spirit of Owen Glandor, and they tried to defeat us with their might and their armies, but still we stood defiant, and now they want us to put an X in our spelling? Never! But I like that because it's good to stick to your principles. It explains why the Wrexham Philharmonic Orchestra has no xylophone. And if someone here says they think they've broken their arm, they're told, if the swelling hasn't gone down in a week, you can have a CS ray. And what makes this international attention even madder is there is a town just up the road that has marketed itself as a tourist attraction for hundreds of years, going, oh, look at us, we're Chester. I know we're technically in the north, but don't be fooled by that. There were no ironworks or scary gangs here, and in our magistrates' court, the only cases are when a busker on Eastgate Street is accused of plagiarism. And now you have got more tourists than them. Someone told me that Wrexham fans took a banner to a Euro football tournament which was seen on global television at the games. So this was your chance to speak to the world, and the message on the banner was Wrexham FC, Chester is shit. I bet the proper working class Romans thought bollocks to this and came here. I read the book Tinseltown, which is a brilliant book about the Hollywood takeover of the football club in Wrexham, and it says rivalry with Chester goes back to the battle in 616 AD. So you're only just getting over it, and it quotes a local parchment from that time. Men of Chester, haughty be, for beakers and pots of Wrexham most sturdy are, but in Chester parish they do cost £75 each from some daft boutique, for with great verity Chester be shite. And they would have said, a pox be upon them, but they couldn't because that's got an X in it. It's tough here in Wrexham because it's supposed to be tough. Until recently, this was one of many towns with an industrial past that was only written about when journalists came up from London to write articles about the poor. In the book Secret Wrexham, that was written before your recent Renaissance, there's a list of Wrexham achievements. And I thought, oh, this might offer some light relief. And one of the first ones I saw was Wrexham's Lawn Sage won a Whitbread Prize for a book about having emphysema. But if you do have a celebrity from Wrexham, it's Robbie Savage. The the hard-man midfielder who's now a football phone-in host who gives incisive, intelligent comments on the 606 phone-in show, such as, "You're joking, aren't you? You're joking. What have you ever won? It's just your opinion. Nothing you've won, nothing. You're useless. Admit it, you're useless." Now we've got Pete on lane 4. He's exactly what a Wrexham celebrity should be, and the effect of this is the website This Is Wrexham, which can tell us tourism is worth £180 million to Wrexham's economy and has almost doubled in the last decade. We also welcome over 2 million visitors per year. Now, I don't want to be a cynic, Wrexham. 2 million? That must include anyone who ever comes here for any reason. Just because someone comes from Rwavon to go to B&Q, that doesn't make them a Tory. But it was pretty here, wasn't it? There were markets everywhere. There was a butcher's market, which is still here, except there's no butchers in it. And there were mines all round the town, and Wilkinson Ironworks set up by Isaac Wilkinson. And you did get a boost from the engineering of Thomas Telford, the architect from Shrewsbury, who designed the canal system that not only made the industry here profitable, but created the amazing Pontcysyllte Aqueduct. And this is one of the first pictures you see on the This Is Wrexham tourist site, and it's the first place mentioned when anyone here is asked where all these new tourists from around the world should go. And it is stunning, that aqueduct. I walked across it on the tiny path by the canal that flows on the bridge about 120 feet above the valley, and the views across Llangollen are so striking you feel as if you're suspended in the air. It is thrilling. To cross it in a barge must be inspirational. So fair play to you for promoting the aqueduct as part of Wrexham's tourist industry, even though it's nowhere near bloody Wrexham. It's the highest structure in the area, and you can't even see Wrexham from the top. Do you all go across the aqueduct? Yeah. It's glorious, isn't it? You know, it's a distance, but it's worth it. Another memorial to your industrial past is that in 1992, a People's Market was opened, and the book Wrexham Revealed says, "I remember the controversy about calling it the People's Market, as there was a horror this could be a celebration of communism." And the book then says another theory is it was called the People's Market to attract investors from the People's Republic of China, because when China was looking for places to invest in, it was undecided between buying up all the minerals in Africa or buying Rob's DVD stall in the market. And in any case, what a deluded idea that millionaires from one of the world's most powerful nations would become obsessed with funding Wrexham. And there was another major industry here, which was Wrexham Lager. Yeah, mild enthusiasm for Wrexham Lager. This was the first mass-produced lager in Britain, set up by 2 Germans who lived here in 1882. And historically famous because every time you mention it here, someone tells you it was the only beer that was sold on the Titanic. What a recommendation. This is the real reason Kate Winslet lived and Leonardo DiCaprio drowned. He was too pissed on Wrexham Lager to climb onto the raft, wasn't he? The Wrexham tourist website says Wrexham Lager was served on board the Titanic, but you can still enjoy a pint in pubs around the city without worrying about icebergs. How cautious would you have to be to go, "Oh no, I won't have a Wrexham Lager. Look what happened that other time people had a Wrexham Lager." And what about this one? This is amazing, right? The Nation Cymru website says, on the Titanic, it was believed the American passengers would not know where Wales was. So the poster for Wrexham Lager referred to Wrexham being in England. Man, I bet that's the last time you ever go on that ship. Another one of your jolly industries is described in the Tinseltown book. In the summer of 2020, the signs at the Wrexham exit directed motorists to the new local landmark, Her Majesty's Prison, Berwyn. And it is the largest prison in Britain with room for 2,100 inmates, so I expect you count them towards the number of tourists. And the prison is now the main employer in Wrexham, and it mostly houses Category B and C prisoners, but no sex offenders, because then you'd have to put up lots of signs spelling sex in 2 ways. In a report on ITV News, an ex-prisoner called Christopher said, "This is the cushiest prison I've ever been in. It's the only town you've got here where the adventure playground is harder than the prison." And it's also why D-Wing is now considered one of the 7 wonders of the world. And something you've always been proud of in Wrexham is your tunnels that connect Wrexham's underground. One of the most exciting things about these tunnels is that they don't exist. Do you know about the tunnels? Yeah. Now, some people think they do exist. North Wales Live says, according to legend, the tunnels beneath Wrexham begin somewhere underneath St Giles Church and generally end in pubs around the area. Which is hardly the Da Vinci Code, but I suppose it makes sense, because if you were a priest in St Giles Church, it would be worth spending years building a tunnel so you could secretly go to the pub, so that the only people who would know you'd been to the pub would be all the people in the pub. And there is one other theory, which is that the tunnels lead from the prison and people in Wrexham use them to break their way into the prison to play pool. And you've got more tourist attractions to boast about. You've got 2 stations, Wrexham General and Wrexham Central, which are said to be the 2 closest overground stations in the country. So well done for that, you lazy pigs. You can tell them apart. Wrexham General comes out by the back of B&M Bargains, whereas Wrexham Central comes out by the front of B&M Bargains. And there's another tourist attraction, St Giles's Church, one of the wonders of Wales. A beautiful church. It's got a spire and stained glass windows that are very nice, and I suppose that's why it's a wonder of Wales, as no other churches have anything like that. When I was there, I've been there twice. The first time I was there, a group of Swedes arrived who were there for the match against Bristol Rovers. So because of St Giles, you've got somewhere to show people when they come here, because they've seen the documentary. So they take in the tranquility of an Anglican church, watch some kids set light to a mattress and then go to the game. A complete day out. So I'd now like to introduce Petra. What is your official title, Petra?
My official title is Associate Priest of St Giles Mission Hub.
I've got to say, Petra said to me yesterday a sentence that you don't always hear from a priest or associate priest. She said, "I'm going to my taekwondo class later if the piano tuner comes on time." So are there lots of tourists that come to the church now?
We have well over 35,000 tourists a year. Those are the ones that actually get noted down by the welcomers when they come in, providing the welcomers aren't talking to tourists when the other ones come in.
So that goes, 35,000 goes a long way towards the 2 million. So... No, that's brilliant. And are lots of them here because of the football, because they've seen the documentary?
Well, yes. I would say most of them are here because of the football, and then you get those who do come because of the church and the history of the church.
No, I think it's lovely that so many people come to the church without the slightest interest in religion. It's no, it's brilliant. And you're also a radical, subversive, campaigning church. Do you want to tell us about the bollards issue?
Oh.
Bollards come up then at 11:30, they block the high street and...
We've had a little bit of a to-do, shall we say, with the council with regards to the bollards, because there's been a worship site there for in excess of 800 years, and there's been unfettered access to that site through all that time. And I did also point out that Henry VIII didn't even stop people coming there during the Reformation, so... The thought of me letting Wrexham City Council have those bollards stop disabled people and less able people coming to worship in church, it ain't going to happen.
Do people here go up the tower? Have you all been up the tower at St Giles? It's so lovely up there. Fantastic view. I mean, I'll tell you how high it is. You can almost see the aqueduct. It's brilliant. And just like when you go up a sort of, I don't know if you got the Eiffel Tower or something, just like that, there's a little board telling that if you look in certain distance, Nantwich is 18 miles or whatever it is. And then there's one that says, look in this direction and you'll see Tesco. It's just it's so brilliantly Wrexham. It's a big music venue now, isn't it?
We're hoping it's going to be. My job was to come in here where I can do all my priestly duties, but I'm also setting up the music in the Mission Hub. Tonight we have Claire Williams playing the piano recital there, which is where I'm supposed to be, so I think they all know where I am now.
You'll have to nip back by tunnel so nobody spots you. Well, thank you so much, Petra. And it's a very, very exciting time for St Giles, and hopefully it will be bought by a couple of stars from Hollywood. And then it can be promoted to be in a cathedral, and next time we come, you'll be the Associate Archbishop of Canterbury. But St Giles Church had another claim to be a wonder of Wales, because before Petra, the Reverend Jason Bray, known as North Wales's only exorcist. And the Reverend wrote a book about his experiences called Deliverance, and I read it. It's brilliant. He describes one of his first exorcisms, saying, I explained I would bless the house with holy water, proclaiming I would drive from the house forces of evil and darkness, but the family didn't seem interested. I explained this to another exorcist, and he said, I get loads of those. They don't like the house they're in, and if they can persuade the council it's haunted, they'll get rehoused. There was another house the exorcist went to, and the family asked, after you've finished your exorcism, would you like to stay for a barbecue? And he describes all these discussions when he's about to go round to somewhere, and they're going, I'm not in Wednesday, how about Thursday afternoon, as if they're trying to get an electrician on checker trade. Blooming exorcist, we waited in all morning, he never showed up. And then they ring the office. What do you mean you've got to reschedule it? I've got my wife possessed here. There's green sick everywhere. Oh, blimey, I don't know who you've had in here. I mean, they've not secured your evil spirits, you see. I mean, that's why you've got that acrid smell of Satan coming through. I mean, they made a right mess up and put it right. It's going to take all day. That's going to be £90 an hour plus a call-out charge, you see. At the height of this activity, Wrexham was struggling to appear pretty, and lots of the shops closed down in the high street after the lockdown. And then everything changed Wrexham because you attracted the attention of Hollywood. Football's always been important in Wrexham, but by 2006, the club had been relegated out of the main professional league and was almost bankrupt, owned by a property developer from Surrey. And he'd owned Chester at one point and was planning to bulldoze the ground. And in 2011, the club was so behind on bills that the conference demanded £250,000 by 5:30 on one afternoon, or they wouldn't be allowed to play again. And thousands of local people handed money over. There was film of kids handing over pocket money. I expect some of them didn't have the cash, but they brought a tyre from the tip. And the money was raised, and a supporters' trust then ran the club. And in the Wrexham documentary, one member of the trust says, we rallied round and found the money to save the club. Chester never did that. They couldn't be bothered. Even in your moment of heroic triumph, your main thought was, Chester wouldn't do this. And over there, £250,000 is the cost of one Wales sushi doner kebab. So I'm going to introduce someone to you now, or I expect lots of you know, Mark Griffiths, the Wrexham FC commentator. What is your actual job title then, Mark?
Exorcist. But I don't have a job title as such. I just do the commentaries, podcasts.
For which station?
For the football club itself.
Tell us what the matches were like before, in those days when there was not many people going.
Well, you'd stand on the cop, and if you wanted to look at somebody's programme, you had quite a long walk. We commentated on the roof of the old Mould Road stand after it was derelict, and there came a point where there was so much water damage that only the carpet was keeping us up, essentially. It was absolutely terrifying. As was watching Wrexham then.
And you were inspired by a hospital commentator?
Oh, gosh, yeah. By this guy who was the doyen of hospital radio in those days, elderly chap from West Wales, who couldn't be bothered to learn the names of any of the other side's players and would always precede each of them with some mild swearing. So he would just... I was sitting in the back and he's there going, oh, that bloody number 9's got the ball again. And I thought, I can do that.
So when did you first hear about the Hollywood interest then? Did you think it was a joke?
Yes. There's always been brilliant rumours that we're going to be bought by some mystery Canadian. I must be honest, dead against it, because as far as I was concerned, the club had nearly died twice. And I liked the fans owning the club. But when you find out who it was who was involved, you started to realise, oh, actually, these people are genuinely serious and the community is as important as the club to them, I think, to be fair.
In 2020, then, Humphrey Kerr, who had worked on Radio 4 comedy shows, so you owe us, Wrexham, was writing with Rob McElhenney, who was in the show It's Only Sunny in Philadelphia, and he'd watched a documentary about Sunderland FC and thought he could buy a failing old club. And the book Tinseltown says, through a Zoom call, Humphrey Kerr said, there's a team that gets crowds of 4,500 at the bottom of the 5th division. I don't suppose you've heard of Wrexham. And Rob became obsessed with Wrexham, having looked it up. And Philadelphia, he said, is similar to Wrexham, just a bit larger. And this is true. Rocky runs up all those steps in Philadelphia, just as you have to walk up the steps of the Tybell multi-storey when the lift's busted. And their tourist board also claims the aqueduct is in Philadelphia. So Rob McElhenney and his mate, the Hollywood actor Ryan Reynolds, bought the club. But as well as owning the club, they became part of the community. As Mark was just saying, for example, they advertised I4 Trailers, the local trailer company. Any Wrexham business had a chance of being advertised by Hollywood stars. If you want to puff, then you're old enough at Easy Shop. And just as Newcastle United are funded by the Saudi Arabian government and Manchester City are funded by oil companies, Wrexham was sponsored by Peter Gwyn's Quality Potatoes and Minera Roof Trusses. The world premiere of Ryan Reynolds' film Free Guy was at the Odeon in Wrexham. And then the Welcome to Wrexham documentary was shown across the world and you became global superstars. And suddenly the whole town was like Hollywood. The Kaya Park estate must have been like Beverly Hills. There was probably a waiting list of 4 years to get your kids onto an adventure playground. And Wrexham players Ollie Palmer and Paul Mullen were in Deadpool films with Ryan Reynolds. Some of the characters in the film wore Wrexham badges. In the next Fast and Furious, Vin Diesel will probably screech across Texas in an I4 trailer. And at first, none of this seemed to help the team. There's a scene in the documentary where Wrexham are being beaten 2-0 by Maidenhead. And the Maidenhead fans are singing, "You bought the wrong club, you bought the wrong club. Ryan Reynolds, you bought the wrong club." Wrexham was then talked about on chat shows across America and Australia. The poor vicar must have thought, what about me? I do exorcisms. I could get rid of the devil. Yes, that may be, sir, but Wrexham beat Wycombe Wanderers 2-1 to go 9th. And camera crews were strolling around the town going, do you have a favourite spot for brunch? I've heard the Greggs here is to die for. And then these articles were appearing in magazines like the New Yorker going, I travelled to the famous city of Wrexham. We rode for 3 days across the plains from Chester. Sailing across the aqueduct as natives from Llangollen fired arrows at us. The American sports publication The Athletic assigned one of their reporters to just write about Wrexham. A Canadian Wrexham group was set up showing Canadians around the town. Now, I just want to check something here. You are all aware that this is mental, aren't you? There are Canadian tourist guides greeting groups of Canadians to take them around Wrexham. And just as people arrive in Cairo and go, oh, I can't believe I can see the actual pyramids, there are people going, oh my God, I'm at the actual butcher's market that doesn't have any butchers. Oh my God! The owners then bought a major part of Wrexham Lager, which meant that the Wrexham Lager then became a business and the players started advertising it. So now Wrexham Lager is being exported to America, which is wonderful because every time Wrexham Lager has been on its way to America, it's been excellent luck. Rob Clark, who runs the DVD shop Mad for Movies, got a message from Ryan Reynolds saying he and his wife Blake Lively wanted to donate their old DVDs to them. And Rob's here, I believe.
Yeah.
Rob, did they call you? Or...
Yeah, it was a bit bizarre. They'd been into the shop, but then, I got a message on Twitter a few months later when I was on holiday in the Cotswolds, and this thing came through, Ryan Reynolds sent you a message, and I'm like... I said to my wife, I said, all these spammers and whatnot, and she went, no, it's actually Ryan Reynolds sending you a message. Basically, he said, we're having a bit of a clear-out, and we've got a load of Blu-rays here. They might not play on your system over there. We've signed them anyway, and we'll send them over to you, and you might be able to do something with them.
So Ryan Reynolds and his wife, Blake Lively, are having a declutter.
Basically, yeah.
A fantastic thing for selling something that went obsolete about 15 years ago. They've also donated a power loom to the local weavers. And there's, in the market, there are pictures of Ryan Reynolds on quite a lot of the shops.
Yeah, the ALC is cut out quite a bit round town. Yeah.
It is a bit sort of Saddam Hussein in Iraq in about...
Yeah.
I want to go back to Mark, actually. It's not just the football club, is it? The whole town has sort of benefited from this.
Oh, 100%. I mean, anybody here who remembers what High Street was like 10 years ago, when it was basically pubs and takeaway places that were only open on Friday and Saturday nights. And now it's the complete opposite. The regeneration of the whole place is fantastic. And to be fair, Rob and Ryan have always been aiming to do that.
Thank you very much. And thanks for Robert. It's been so brilliant. These are actual words written in the book Tinseltown. When the new monarch, King Charles, and Queen Consort Camilla visited the ground in December, McElhenney and Reynolds were in attendance to meet them. A 3-1 win against Scunthorpe took them to the top of the table. That is mad. There is nothing that will be surprising. It wouldn't be surprising to read at Tracy's Cafe in the High Street, Barack Obama arrived for the morning shift. Later in the day, it was announced that the match programme for the game against Shrewsbury had won that year's Nobel Prize for Literature. There's a strange sense of progress in this city. There's a large space of wasteland by the Gwenny that has a big sign up that's saying regeneration zone. And it's the sort of place where a few years ago I just sitting there, I thought, oh, nothing's going to happen there. But now I think, no, I can honestly see them fitting 2 more Lidls in that. And if you were a politician, you might wonder how it is that the efforts of 2 people in Hollywood with an interest in football could lead to an ex-industrial town being at least partly regenerated. And if that's true, why can't the people running the world do that to all the other towns? But the reason people ask questions like that is because we're obviously stupid. You were already internationally important, Wrexham. Elihu Yale lived in Wrexham on the Erding estate. He was born in America to a Welsh family. He moved to India and he became a governor in Madras and donated books to a new college in Connecticut that named itself Yale University after him. So Yale University owes itself to Wrexham. And in the 1990s, the famous Yale in Connecticut threatened to sue Yale College that we're part of now, claiming that the name would cause confusion. Now, would that really happen? Would Price Waterhouse interview Robbie Savage? I see you were educated at Yale. With such an education, would you consider a post working for our esteemed bank? Well, you say you're esteemed, but what trophies have you won? on the up now, Wrexham. Soon you'll be able to say there are 7 liddles of wheels, 5 of them are in Wrexham. Russell Crowe's great-grandparents ran a fruit market here, and he's quoted in his journal as saying, "My name is Peter Crowe, commander of parsnips, tomatoes and broccoli. Son of a man who drank in the Royal Oak, father to a son who also drinks in the Royal Oak. I shall sell you apricots in this world or the next." Maybe the most exciting part of Wrexham's story is that you're Wrexham Town and Wrexham City. You've got this new fame, but you're still the same. You're like someone on a rundown council estate that wins the lottery but stays where they are. They get some posh things and they stop the riff-raff coming round, but underneath you're the same. You've got Hollywood stars and the King coming here, but you prefer to post about having a car park that you can dance in. The famous railway engineer William Lowe lived here and designed a Channel tunnel in 1880s. True. And some say he did build the tunnel and it leads to the Royal Oak in the High Street. You're being watched by the whole world. You could make any statement about glory or triumph or having the heart of a lion, but instead your slogan is "Wrexham is the name," as if you're worried you might forget yourself. In the 1680s, Welsh Quakers and Baptists fled persecution from here, and where they went to was Philadelphia. When the iron companies started in Philadelphia in the 19th century, hundreds of iron workers from Wrexham went out there. So Philadelphia is a large version of you. So I will leave you, Wrexham, with an extract from the journal of those brave travellers who took the spirit of Wrexham with them as they crossed the world to build the country that would eventually come back to change Wrexham. Day 70. The storms persist, and all aboard have knelt in prayer that our souls may be spared as the ship lurches with fury across the angry sea. It is said our vessel may have been more sturdy if it had been made by shipbuilders rather than from items found on a council tip. Day 24, we spot an iceberg off the coast of Greenland in our path. At first, the captain wants to change course to avoid it, but instead we open a case of lager. Day 28, we find an island where an old Welsh pirate's map claims treasure is buried. Unfortunately, there's no X on it to mark the spot. Day 39. We arrive at Philadelphia and are surprised to see many of our old friends from the mother town that we had left some 39 days before. "You too have braved the arduous seas to build a new home," we asked. "Oh no," they replied. "There's a tunnel from the old vault pub."